أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
The very first sentence of the Old Testament indicates the plural structure of God. In the beginning, God, Elohim. The word Elohim.
Okay. The word Elohim is a respected plural. For instance, like a king will refer to himself in this sort of plural. In the Quran, Allah refers to himself as this, like, plural, us or we, multitude of times. So that point right there, I understand how you can get that mistaken, but it's not really a valid issue. So, okay, moving on.
Christians believe since God created us in His image and likeness, we would similarly have a complex unity. Indeed, I am body, soul, and spirit.
First of all, when God's in His image, meaning we can create, we have love, we have compassion, we have anger and fear, and human emotion is not the same thing like God emotion. Like, you can't compare God to human. But the fact that we can create things and no other creation is able to create. Angels don't make buildings and cars and stuff. Only humans do. Anyway.
From a functional perspective as well, I perform many different functions. I'm a father, I'm a son, and I'm a brother.
Before you said that, you said you have a body and a spirit and a soul. Firstly, spirit and soul is the same thing. I'm pretty sure you meant to say mind. But your mind, spirit, and soul are your mind, spirit, and soul. They belong to you. God gave them to you. Your mind, spirit, and body are yours. God let you borrow them, if you should say. So, which part of the Trinity does the other two belong to? If the other two belongs to one of them, then they're not all God, because God doesn't belong to anybody. And you being a brother, a father, and a son has nothing to do with it. Because what about a child that was born and he died before he had a wife, and he had no kids, and he was, like, what about that? Like, he just has a mother and a father. He's a son. He's not a brother or anything, or a husband or a father or anything like that. What about that?
In fact, let's go on over to tawheed. In tawheed, God is referred to as a simple unity, oneness.
See, you say the word simple as if, it's some, like, God is a person. God is not a simple unity. Like you're going to say further in the video, you say that you were heard that there's nothing unlike to Him. Nothing that He in His creation is like Him. So that's not simple. We can understand God. We have no way of grasping. But the fact that God is one is a concept which is easy to swallow. You believe in one God. If there was two gods or three gods, this is a problem. Or three gods being in one, that sounds like some sort of schizophrenia, like I told the other Christian brother.
God creates, and yet He creates in a form which is completely diametrically opposed to His own nature.
Like I said, God is unlike any of His creation.
This would indicate to me and introduce the possibility in my mind that Allah needed to change His basic nature from that of non-relationality to that of relationality.
In what way does that introduce that into your mind? I don't see how that makes sense. You said the fact that He created something unlike Him means He has to change His own self from non-relationality to... How does that make sense? Like, if God didn't create anything, He's the same as if He created everything. Like, how did He have to change in order to create us differently than Him? Like,
simply to create us. Furthermore, many of His 99 attributes, His 99 names, would indicate the need for a subject and an object. In philosophy,
No. Now, let me say, just because He's the Lord that doesn't mean he needs somebody to be a Lord too. He's the Lord to everything, always. Whether there's something there or not, he's always the Lord. If he didn't create anything, how wouldn't he be the Lord? If he's the merciful and he didn't create anything, how does that change the fact that he's merciful? You know, if he's the king of all kings, he's still the king whether somebody's there or not. Just because, if I'm not, God forgive me, I'm not trying to compare God to a human king, but if a king, his whole country got destroyed, would that change the fact that he's a king? No, he's still a king. That makes no sense.
On the other hand, if we take the singleness, the non-relationality of Allah, as expressed in the Quran, and we compare it to governments which are Muslim, we find over and over and over again totalitarian regime after totalitarian regime, a need for authority and power to be
Wow. Let's turn to the American government. What is, like, are you serious? The government in the United States, the government in every other Christian country, they're not corrupted. They're the biggest thieves, liars, deceivers ever. Like, there's no Muslim government. The only Sharia country is Saudi Arabia, and there's no need for authority. Nobody, I mean, like, what are you talking about? Like, you know, like, there's some things that you can't speak about because you don't know. Like, if you're talking about the British government isn't corrupted, then you're crazy. You know, excuse my language. And so the American government is probably the most corrupted of all.
expressed as is more important than the needs and the rights of the individual.
Wow. Okay. So the needs and the rights of is the right of the individual to what? To have, okay, example, in Saudi Arabia you get punished for cheating on your wife, while in America you don't. But in America you go to jail, and you be jailed for however many years if you have a second wife. So how is that freedom? How is that freedom? That's not freedom. That seems to me like it's a definite confusion of priorities. You won't go to jail or any punishment if you have sex with your wife's sister and have babies with her. But you will go to jail if you get another wife. Wow.
Once again, we find, since God wanted me to have a frame of reference to understand Him, and since God doesn't mind, the God of the Bible doesn't.
A frame of reference, what? That the three equal gods are one. That's not understand. You can't understand that. If you can explain that to me, I'll give you $1,000. There's no way you can explain to me how three equal gods are making up one single God with the triangle, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Which one is greater? How come the Father always has to be named first and the Son always has to be named second? If they were equal, it would be no problem if the Son, the Father, and the Holy Spirit were said. But they're not equal, obviously, because you can't say the Son, the Father, and the Holy Spirit, because that's blasphemy in Christianity. And for you to say what you're about to say, which is that your God, so-called, or wants you to open your mind and think about things and question things, that's wrong. Christians don't do that. Muslims do that. That's why we're Muslim. Do you understand? That's why we're Muslim. Listen, I went to church. I went to masjids. I had Buddhist people talking to me about their religion, and those Indian Sikh people, and all of those people. I mean, learning, changing my ideas, and speculating which is right. I mean, if you really truly are a believer in God, you cannot deny the fact that since Adam, Noah, Jonah, Solomon, all these prophets and messengers came with the same message: believe in one God. If there was some sort of a trinity, Adam should have known. Adam was there with God. Adam was created with God's by his own hands. God blew part of his soul, part of himself into Adam. So if Adam knew there was a trinity, why he didn't tell nobody? Why was nobody aware of that until Jesus came and the Christianity started diverting and started making up the Trinity thing? How come nobody knew? How come nobody preached it? And Jesus said, I'm ascending to my God and your God, my Lord and your Lord. He didn't say, I'm ascending to my own self. Jesus said, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. The Lord our God, meaning his God as well. What's the point of life? What are you alive for? Just curious. Like, are you alive what? To have fun, go drinking and partying, do what you want to do, or to have kids? Is that what you know? You're not alive for that. You're alive to know God and to worship Him. That's what you're alive for. We're on this earth as a test. We're not on this earth for nothing else. We're on this earth as a test to believe in God and to do the right thing. That's what we're